Lost that fight, walking out of the ring, what were your memories? What did you think?
Boxing's a lot tougher than I expected.
Being tough gets you hurt. This is a sharp game, a skill game, a chess game, and I think people see that.
Nothing to hide, and I'm gonna break it straight down the pipe for you, face to face.
You don't even know. You don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go.
The face-to-face meeting between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua gives fans a powerful look at two completely different fighters. Jake Paul, the creator-turned-contender, steps up with full confidence, trying to show he belongs on this stage. Across from him, former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua stays composed, analyzing Paul with the calm mindset of a seasoned veteran. During the exchange, Paul openly admits that Joshua's size, experience, and championship mentality make this a real test. He doesn't deny the challenge. In fact, he respects it, but insists he's prepared to show the world he's more than just height. This matchup isn't just a fight, it's a statement from both sides.
Relentless style, this forward pressure, taking lots of damage and not giving a fuck and returning that damage more than what his opponents are giving him. And
with the fight now officially locked in for December 19th, excitement around the event has exploded. Jake Paul made it clear that this isn't some casual celebrity bout. It's a legitimate challenge against a former unified heavyweight champion. He acknowledged that facing Anthony Joshua is a huge risk, but said that anyone chasing greatness has to take big leaps, that on the other side, Joshua stayed calm and confident. He gave Jake credit for his drive and business mindset, but reminded everyone that experience counts inside the ring. Joshua added that once the bell rings, respect disappears and instincts take control. Both fighters agreed on one point: this clash will redefine careers. Either Jake Paul delivers the upset of a lifetime, or Anthony Joshua proves once again why he's a dominant force in the sport.
I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua. I know I will beat. Knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin, and he has no skill, and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. But I want.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping has shared his take on the upcoming matchup, calling it a win-win scenario for Jake Paul. According to Bisping, even if Jake loses, he earns major respect simply for stepping in against a former heavyweight world champion. It proves he's not hiding behind easy opponents. He's taking real risks and pushing past the label of celebrity boxer. And if Jake somehow pulls off the upset, Bisping believes it would instantly raise his credibility to a completely new level within the sport. But for Anthony Joshua, Bisping sees the opposite situation, a potential lose-lose. If Joshua wins, critics may dismiss it as a predictable victory over a social media star instead of a meaningful challenge. And if he loses, the damage could be far more serious. Falling to an influencer-turned-boxer could severely affect his legacy and raise questions about his future as a top contender.
Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beaten a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. And by the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing. And he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury's going to beat him and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy sh**. Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going.
For many fans, this matchup feels less like a legacy moment for Anthony Joshua and more like a strategic business move. One major talking point is the significant weight difference between the two fighters. Jake Paul came in at around 200 pounds for his bout with Mike Tyson, while Joshua typically enters the ring in the 252 to 255-pound range. That size gap could play a major role in how the fight unfolds, adding another layer of intrigue to an already unexpected showdown.
Yeah, I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions and potentially, signed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work? Like, how do you even... Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's not official and I don't think it's happening. So let's just not even broach that subject. But let's talk about the Anthony Joshua fight. And I want to hear the clip again because I just can't believe what I'm hearing. Let's play it again.
I know my boundaries. I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will fucking beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will
just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends, all this shit, but I want to fight you.
So Jake says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He says he's going to beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, that he has no skill, and that he's stiff. And then you hear Derek again with the porn creeper stash chime in. Didn't he just get knocked out? Yeah, by Daniel Dubois, who is a reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Not that that means anything at all, I don't guess. Yeah, Jake's just flat out wrong here with a lot of his critiques of Anthony Joshua in comparison to himself. Like, if you want to say for the elite heavyweights in the world that Anthony Joshua has a little bit less skill and is more stiff than they are, then okay, but Anthony Joshua is still an elite heavyweight in the world. And then to go as far as to say, I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, no skill, he's stiff. Like, again, Jake can have this opinion. And he says that, that we're friends and I love you, but I want to fight you. And Jake may even believe that, but he's just wrong. Like, Anthony Joshua took heavy shots against Daniel Dubois before he was knocked out, and really, the reason he was knocked out is because he got in a firefight and threw an uppercut.
Anthony Joshua has shared the ring with some of the biggest and most dangerous fighters in modern boxing. His experience level far exceeds Jake Paul's, and even Joe Rogan has highlighted this in conversations about the potential matchup. Joshua has survived high-level battles against elite opponents, while Paul is still relatively new to the sport and building his foundation. That gap in experience is one of the most important factors analysts continue to point out.
And that's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh.
Dana White's opinion on Jake Paul remains blunt and dismissive. He has said he stopped taking Jake seriously after Paul lost to an established professional boxer. White has consistently shown little respect for Paul's boxing career, describing many of his previous matchups as more show than substance. He even brushed off the legal threats coming from Paul's camp after accusations about fight legitimacy. While White doesn't claim the fights are fixed, he argues that many of them don't resemble true high-level boxing bouts.
Reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people will watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody.
Tommy Fury has been quick to dismiss the idea of Jake Paul taking on Anthony Joshua, calling Paul's ambitions unrealistic. Fury pointed out that he defeated Paul even while dealing with a significant hand injury, using that victory to question Paul's credibility in the ring. He raised doubts about whether Paul is ready for such a high-profile matchup and suggested that Joshua has little to gain from facing him. Fury also hinted that the fight might be more about business than competition, implying that Paul would struggle to genuinely challenge a heavyweight of Joshua's level.
French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. You can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I?
Fury's prediction has stirred plenty of debate in the boxing world, with many questioning whether such a claim is realistic. Jake Paul responded with confidence, doubling down on his own abilities, and even claiming he would put up 10 million pounds on himself to win the fight. His bold stance has only added more hype and anticipation for this potential clash with Anthony Joshua.
With the interview saying that he thinks Jake Paul will knock out Anthony Joshua. I think this is probably like a troll attempt to get Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, but then again, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Usyk did more damage than we thought. I think Jake Paul knocks him out, Fury told Ring Magazine when asked about Paul versus Joshua. I just think Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua out. I think Jake Paul is on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look, a bit chubby, a bit bulky, getting there. And he just did a great job over the aging. The fool's like almost 40, you know, and he like was not a fighter for a long time or a boxer, you know, he's just in it for the check and the name value of his dad, you know. Aging Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he was a middleweight, but still. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Who'd he call out? Tank Davis and Joshua? That's just crazy. I see Richter scale call-outs. Exactly. I will say, I don't know, Gervonta Davis could beat him too, even though he does outweigh.
Despite his confidence, Jake Paul's habit of calling out legendary fighters has drawn criticism from many boxing fans. Critics argue that these challenges are more about grabbing headlines than demonstrating genuine skill in the sport, and question whether Paul is truly a serious contender.
Possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. A bit chubby, a bit bulky. Getting there. That's protected. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still.
Sure.
Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's who he called Rick.
Sports commentator Stephen A. Smith has openly criticized Jake Paul for targeting legendary fighters like Mike Tyson and potentially Anthony Joshua. Smith argues that if Paul wants to be taken seriously in boxing, he should focus on opponents closer to his own age and skill level. By going after much older or far more experienced fighters, Paul risks being seen as chasing publicity rather than genuinely testing his abilities and building legitimacy in the sport.
At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really, really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
What did you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it.
And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer. But then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years.
Stephen A. Smith has long questioned Jake Paul's choice of opponents, pointing out that many of his fights have been against non-boxers or fighters past their prime. Paul defended himself, claiming he attempted to fight Tommy Fury, but Fury declined a rematch. This issue is pivotal in Paul's career. While he has defeated former MMA fighters and older boxers, he has yet to consistently challenge younger, rising boxing talents. Critics argue that if Paul truly wants respect in the sport, he needs to face more legitimate, in-prime boxers like Fury.
Dudes who don't box, they're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's a heavyweight champion.